Now let's get down to shooting our dessert. To enable a wireless function, click the button and select the flash combination you wish to work with from the menu that appears. The infrared sensors on the slave flash units must be in line of sight with the master slave in order to operate. You can, however, point the flash head in any direction as long as the sensor sees the master flash. Infrared has a range of approximately 30 feet. Canon's new addition to its flash system is the Speedlight 600EX RT. Its number one new feature is radio-based wireless ETTL control, which allows flashes to be up to 98 feet away from the master unit, with no line of sight required. Note, if the flash control menu is displayed on the camera's LCD monitor, the EOS Utility Flash Function Settings window automatically closes. We'll connect our first 580 to the camera, which is set to master on channel 1. While you can control the power output of the flash units within the EOS Utility, the master, slave, and flash ID can only be set from the back of the flash unit itself. The flash will be attached to the camera's hot shoe, but the flash head will be pointing back so as not to affect the exposure. We could also disable the master flash using the on-screen command with the flash icon in the Flash Function Settings window of EOS Utility. With exposure simulation active, making typical manual exposure mode camera settings for flash will result in a dark or black view on a live view screen. Most EOS cameras will allow you to disable exposure simulation in the live view shooting menu, so you can get a preview of the subject under ambient light. Please note that with EOS Rebel models, there's no way to disable exposure simulation. If you're in manual exposure mode with a flash and need an on-screen preview, momentarily move the camera's mode dial to an auto mode like AV. We'll be using our next 580 inside a Westcott softbox with a Lua grid and set it to Flash ID B. Okay, so now in ETTL, we now need to set our exposure ratio. Since our flash, our slave in a softbox, is set to IDB, and it is our main light source, we want to give it the most power possible over the flash on the camera, which is our master, and automatically set by default to IDA. In ETTL, the biggest difference we can get between two flashes is 1 to 8, or about 3 f-stops, so that's what we'll set our flashes to. Remember, we don't want our flash on camera to affect our overall exposure. We just want to use it to control the rest of our speedlights. Let's focus our image. I'll go in and zoom to 100%, and there you have it. Yet another reason to use this software. You always know when you're spot on in focus. Let's take a test shot. The main exposure looks pretty good. I can even feel that sponge-like quality in the dessert. Now, just for comparison purposes, I'll take a photo and save this file so that we can look at the progression of what we did to compare the cause and effect relationship when we're done. You'll notice that because I have DPP set as my default program to view my images, it opens automatically. If my exposure was off at this point, I could use DPP to see just how much I'm off. I would just crank up the brightness until I was happy with it and transfer the increase in exposure to my flash. Pretty cool, huh? Now that we have our main exposure, let's do a white balance and check our depth of field. I want to bring some fill into the back and side of the shot, so we'll place a reflector to the back left of the dessert and take a test shot. Well, that's not really doing it for me. The shadow is still too deep. I can move the card closer to get more fill, but then it would be in the shot. The angle of the plate doesn't allow me enough fill from this card alone, so we'll have to place another fill card above the plate at the correct angle to reflect light from the softbox where we want it. But before we put the card in, let me burn a shot for our records. Well, the shot is starting to take shape, but I think it needs something else. It's not jumping out at me. There's just no pop to it. I'd like to bring up the logo on the chocolate disc to add more emphasis and punch to the shot without having it affect the main exposure and the fill. So I need a narrow beam of light that only hits the area I want to affect. For this, I'll use another 580 and attach a tight patterned honeycomb grid spot to the flash to narrow the beam and only add light to the top part of the dessert and to the chocolate disc. This should give us a hard-edged, very focused accent light. and we'll set this to flash ID A. We'll start this at its lowest power setting, and again use 1:8. Let's do a test shot. To my eye, it looks like the accent could be, well, a bit brighter. I want to jump it up just a bit more. The only way to do this is to lower the ratio from 1:8 down to 1:4. And because our accent light has the same ID as our master unit on the camera, we're also increasing the power on it. We just need to be careful that the fill from the master unit doesn't affect the overall exposure. Let's take another test shot. And voila, that looks pretty good. It's only affecting the area I want with the accent light. And we have a pretty nice shot with an evenly graded medium gray background. I think we have a final. Let's burn another file. And one more thing. Let's try for a different look with this shot and see what it looks like as a high key shot. We'll add another 580 and attach a diffuser to it and set it to flash ID C. We'll put this behind the set and we'll angle a flash up, which will illuminate the white soft frost directly from the center of the flash output. We'll also get some bounce light from the spill on the reflector panel. We'll set the power on C to +1 and take a test shot. Not exactly what I want. Let's burn a shot for our file and look at it in DPP. Since I'm going for a high key look, I think it needs more power. And I know this just from reading the numbers at the bottom left-hand corner of DPP, and I check all around the plate and the background and right around the side of the plate. Since I want a pure white high key, I know the numbers have to be 255 in the red, green, and blue channel to ensure that it's pure white. So let's crank it up to full power because I don't care if it goes way beyond 255 and see what we get. We'll burn another file and check it out in DPP, and yep, it looks good and reads 255 all the way around. I also know I have a neutral image if all three color channels read the same. Now we have a clean high key and medium key shot to choose from. Since we have the ratio set and the lighting worked out in TTL, we'll just go back and adjust the power to manual and achieve the same looks. I know that Group C or my background light can stay the same. It's already at full power. I just have to fiddle with the main power and get that correct. Looks great, doesn't it? And there you have it.